To understand the Iran war, it's helpful to first look at another country, Saudi Arabia, which has the number 2 oil reserve. So you have Venezuela has the number 1, Saudi Arabia number 2, and Iran number 3. So Trump just took over Venezuela's oil, which has been an objective of the United States for a long time, and now is involved with Iran. But it's easier to look at Saudi Arabia. In order to maintain oil prices, oil producers have to have a lot of discipline not to let out the oil in great amounts. They have to be tight with it. But if you have nationalized oil that is democratically controlled, the people are going to want to make money for consumerism. They're going to want to buy things, and they're going to want the oil to provide those things. And so it's going to be harder to maintain that discipline. So in Saudi Arabia, we have a dichotomy between the elitists who are bloated with oil money versus the poor common people who are a hotbed for Islamic fundamentalism and anti-American sentiments. So the dichotomy is that the elitists love the United States and are very friendly, but the common people don't like the United States that much, and they're deeply religious. And the reason for that is that the elitists in Saudi Arabia, the Saudi government, actually instills and cultivates anti-American sentiments and religious fundamentalism in the common people of Saudi Arabia. And you might ask, well, why is that? The United States will only say something about it if it goes to the point where the people are chanting death to America in the streets. They don't want to go that far. But there's a reason for this. The reason is that, and it has nothing to do with Islam. It's simply a fact that when people are extremely religious, they tend to relish in poverty because it helps them to focus on otherworldly things. They're not distracted by material items. On the other hand, if people become interested in the United States, they're going to become interested in consumerism. And what does consumerism take? It takes money. And if they focus on money, they're going to focus on where's our share of the oil money. And if they start demanding that, then it's going to be harder for Saudi Arabia to play the game where it maintains tight control over the release of oil. You see, so Saudi Arabia's dichotomy benefits the oil industry by making sure that the people of Saudi Arabia do not have control over the oil. So the United States, which serves oil interests in its foreign policy, would rather have Saudi Arabia cultivate Islamic extremism and anti-American sentiments among its common people rather than to risk Saudi Arabia becoming a democracy with nationalized oil interests. So with Iran, as anyone can tell you, there was no particular nuclear threat, no other kind of imminent threat, except the one threat there was democracy. Iran was on the brink of a democratic revolution. The Ayatollah was on his way out one way or another. So that instilled great fear in the oil industry, because if Iran becomes a democracy and the people take control over oil, how are you going to get Iran to play the game anymore that is only played by elitist control of oil with the discipline that's instilled in them? So what the United States did was it teamed up with Iran's arch enemy, Israel, to brutalize the country so that it would be very difficult for pro-democracy Iranians to convince their fellow Iranians that we need to become a democracy like America. Freedom is great. When freedom is teaming up with your arch enemy to brutalize your country, doing things like killing over 100 of girls at a girls' school right off the bat. So the United States and the oil industry in general doesn't care who's in charge of Iran, as long as it's not the people. They do not want democracy. The United States has fought against Iranian democracy since the early 1950s. With Venezuela, there was great concern that Venezuela's oil would be used to fund consumerism in Venezuela, which would mean that Venezuelans would expect more and more money from oil, which means that Venezuela would eventually develop a loose policy in oil production instead of keeping it tight. Tight control is needed to maintain oil prices psychologically. So it's all about oil. Now, somebody, I think it was a retired Marine Corps general on the 700 Club, mentioned that if, we're not using oil in the first place, then there won't be a question of whether or not the world is being manipulated, whether our soldiers are being manipulated for oil games, because we won't be using the oil in the first place. But if you notice that before Trump 47 started his oil grab in Venezuela and now Iran, one of the things he did was he got rid of all the rebates for electric vehicles, and he shut down all of the renewable energy projects like the windmills. So that's saying that you will be dependent on oil. So it's something to think about.